the world you live in. Today, we want to talk about emotional the symptoms of low emotional resilience. But before I do that, I want to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Aya Akeri. I'm just a young lady, an adventurer, a wayfarer crossing continents and cultures only to discover the truth that unites us all, our interconnection with each other and the universe. My story is one of intense transitions. I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and spent the first half of my childhood in Tripoli, North Africa, and second half in Dublin, Ireland. And you don't have to be a cross-cultural specialist to imagine that's like living between worlds. I'm a certified coach, leadership coach, credentialed by the International Coaching Federation, an emotional resilience mentor, and organizational leadership consultant. My goal is to transform the conception of leadership into one of inner peace, wisdom, and grace and creation-based thinking. I empower leaders to lead from their soul through conscious awareness via coaching and mentoring. I help ambitious professionals, executives, and change leaders excel. I help them beat burnout, enhance their performance, increase their productivity, and navigate work and family life from a state of well-being. So I want to recap the last session episode. We talked about the benefits of resilience for the individual and the organization. So for the individual, we talked about it helps people recover from challenges, adapt to difficult situations, have a healthy lifestyle, like a balanced work-life balance. It helps people perform well under pressure and also maintain a happy, more connected life, and not only adapt rapid adaptation, but also being able to develop in the face of serious threats. For the organization, it boosts bottom line, emotional resilience. For the organization, boosts bottom line, gives the organization a competitive advantage, reduces the costs associated with absenteeism, reduces the costs associated with high turnover as an organization loses its top talents. It also promotes psychological well-being in the workplace. So you have a positive organizational culture. It helps the organization comply with health and safety standards, create a healthy and balanced environment lifestyle for the employees. So you have more work-life balance, engages employees and increases morale, helps mindful communication, better relationship building, better team cohesion, and mitigate presenteeism and burnout. Presenteeism is when someone is there, but they're not there, like they're just disengaged. And that can affect the productivity, performance, and the bottom line of an organization. So today we want to talk about low emotional resilience. Let's look at what research says. Research has identified a number of traits or similar traits that emotionally resilient people exhibit. And these include a positive outlook on life, confidence, self-esteem, self-efficacy, critical thinking and planning skills, and the ability to delay gratification and focus on long-term goals, good social skills, and a sense of humor. So look at this scenario. You are a successful, ambitious, hardworking professional, business owner, executive, or change leader, and your life looks great on the outside. But on the inside, it's a different story. Your eyes are drooping and have a marbled effect with puffy dark circles underneath. Your heart beats slowly. Nothing excites you anymore. Your chest is heavy as if you're climbing uphill. And your shoulders are hunched over with the dread of facing another tough day. It's a tough roll out of bed. You feel like you're drowning in a sea of dreary thoughts and feelings. So it almost feels like you're an empty shell. You're existing only for the sake of it, doing so, existing only for the sake of doing so, but not truly living. And that's why I say I empower leaders to go from existing to living, because to enjoy life, you have to be present, like fully present, not just kind of like physically present, and not being to connect with yourself and others in the moment, right? Connect with your creator, yourself, others. And for you to do that, you need to be present, like fully present. So what are the symptoms? There are a number of symptoms. I have them classified as mental symptoms, physical symptoms, and emotional symptoms of low resilience. The thing is, our resilience tends to fluctuate, and we are less resilient when we're tired or hungry, or feeling lonely. So it's important to recognize when we do have a low mood. It's important to recognize the symptoms so you can take the appropriate measures. So whether you're having the low mood or the other persons are having the low mood, you need that awareness so that you can take the appropriate measures. So you don't want to make any major decisions if you're in a low mood. You don't want to be connecting with others if you don't feel like connecting with others. And if someone is going through a low mood, then you want to give them their space and approach them from a place of compassion rather than judgment. And that's why self-awareness is so important. And that's part of the coaching is the art of evoking awareness. So you help people raise their self-awareness so they're more living, they're more aware, they're more mindful, and they respond from a place of compassion and understanding and wisdom rather than reacting to life. So they're leading life instead of reacting to life. So the emotional symptoms of actually mental symptoms today we're doing mental symptoms of low emotional resilience is poor memory, because you're just so stuck in that low mood. So you're just distracted, you're not present, and it makes it harder to master a new skill or learn a new language. It's a sign that someone has low emotional resilience. Lack of motivation or interest. So you have apathy, they're not interested in non-work related activities. Say they just live life right without enjoying it. They put these things aside, the important things that helps you feel alive. And it's that space of apathy you get into and you have no interest. So also some people can get to a point where it's like a sense of despair, like helplessness. So it's hard for them to plan or solve problems, and that can lead to cynicism or indifference. The fourth mental symptom is procrastination. Overwhelmed with fear and self-doubt, you lack the clarity to get things done. So you just keep procrastinating because you don't have that motivation, you not have that self-confidence to move forward and get things done. So you're just like back and forth, kind of stuck in the mental ping pong of worrying about things or just being self-doubt, really. Now, so these are the mental symptoms: poor memory, sense of despair, lack of motivation, and procrastination. What are the physical symptoms of low emotional resilience? So exhaustion, feel tired, exhausted all the time, being sick and tired of being sick and tired. If you're ever stuck in that, that's just low mood, low resilience. Difficulty keeping up with simple tasks, and you don't like, oh, I'm just making mistakes, breaking things, not focusing, just lack of concentration, just tired. Number two physical symptoms is appetite changes, and some people lose appetite for food and life, and others overindulge in emotional eating, and that leads to that can be harmful to the overall health of the individual. Because if you're overeating just to feel better, then that's not exactly how you feel better. Eating is not food. Some people turn to food because they want to feel a certain way, but food is not really meant for that. I mean, definitely enjoy food as part of enjoying life, but just being kind of reasonable in terms of what to consume and what time to consume it, and just being aware and tuning into your body, listening to your body. So mind, body, and spirit. Poor health is another physical symptom of low emotional resilience. So that comes out in the form of persistent illness because the immune system gets suppressed, so they were more susceptible to infections. And in the annual conference of the International Coaching Federation, I had a look at the seminar presented by a conflict analyst, and she talked about organizations with long-term, and we're talking about organizations, workplaces, even sometimes family. When you have long-term conflict going on, then people have higher levels of chronic illnesses. So you're talking about or poor health, that could be dyspepsia, digestive issues, IBS, high blood pressure, and these are conditions that can be exacerbated by stress and anxiety. And she also mentioned that somebody had a heart attack in her office. One of the executives worked for an organization, and from an organization that she was working for at that time. He had a heart attack in her office. That's how stressed he was. And then also poor sleep. So people find it difficult to sleep, fall asleep, and stay asleep. So you're talking about insomnia. And I remember that was a presenting symptom or complaint for one of my clients. She presented with, I just can't sleep. I'm too stressed out. I'm not worried about things. Everything just feels like it's falling apart. And after 2 sessions, she reported that she was able to sleep better. And I have another client also. She mentioned about, thank you for the session. Right after our first session, she said, thank you for the session. I was feeling really good and I fell asleep afterwards, and I'm able to show up as my authentic self and speak up for myself. So it's some people just turn to medication for when they have sleep issues, and a lot of the time, if you can help understand how you're creating your experience, um, how your thinking is working, then against you rather than for you, then that might help you sleep better. Because when we're in a place of calm and clarity, like if we're connected to ourselves, with it's a space of peace, then it's easier to sleep. But if your mind is racing and you're worrying about the next thing and you're engaging in self-doubt, negative self-talk, it's really hard to fall asleep. And if you do, sometimes you even wake up. Some people have panic attacks and anxiety. I did mention in the study by Gallup, where it looked at 2,000 professionals, and I think like 60% of professionals were losing sleep because of work-related stress. So let's look at a transformational story of how a person went from worrying to understanding how his human experience is created and transforming his life. And we'll call him Mr. W because he's a warrior. So I felt that Mr. W would be fitting for the story. So I'm going to share it with you. So his life was going through change and dissolution. He was going through a highly contested divorce that's partly due to his depression and inability to function under pressure. His business partners decided to break off their partnership because of it was very hard to communicate with him, everything that he was going through. And he's a business analyst, so he analyzes balance sheets. He's very good at projecting, looks at investment portfolios and making projections based on his analysis. However, he found himself analyzing the future of his life. He's getting divorced. He doesn't know how to raise his children. Also, the financial instability of the breakup of the partnership, the business partnership. So he felt like he was just obsessing over these issues. And guess what? When you obsess over these problems, they only get worse. So it was very hard for him to get out of bed in the morning. He felt like he was immobilized. And he was just living life in a state of panic, worrying about the next thing that's going to come his way. Eventually, he ended up on high antidepressants and also hospitalized for depression. He was seeing a therapist that kept going into his past, seeing what happened in the past and why it happened, and analyzing his past, which did not help him at all. Because if you can imagine, these old wounds are like if you have a wound in your arm and you get it stitched, and then someone decides to start to stick their fingers into it, which is what you do when you go back into the past and start to analyze it. That's only going to get the wound infected. It is going to be painful. And it's so unnecessary. It's better if it's just left alone, right? So one of his partners recommended that he would see some other counselor that would help him to focus on his mental well-being, because a lot of the time with therapists, it's like they're focusing on what's wrong. So they give someone a label and then they're like trying to fix that person, like as if that person's broken. And if you know anything about the understanding that I use with the coaching, it's based on the understanding that we're whole. We always have been, always will be. We just can't see it sometimes. And my job is to help you see it. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. So he did find that counselor that helped him focus on his mental well-being. So basically awakening his psychological immune system, which we all have. So, and for him, it just seemed like initially it was just seemed too simple, almost too good to be true. But what happened is like, these things, they just take their time and happen, and you have this shift that happens through an insight, so an inner sight, a sight from within, to connecting with wisdom. So on his way to a divorce hearing, he was listening to a tape about breaking the worry cycle and or worry habit, because a lot of the time worrying is a habit. It's a way of thinking, a thinking pattern that we get stuck in. And for some reason, his mind just suddenly cleared up, and it was like a light bulb went off, and he could see life from a different space, and he could see that how his thinking, his worrying was actually sabotaging his happiness and his success. And he was like, oh, I was stressed and depressed. And then that's when his whole life, according to him, his whole life started to change. So he wastes less time on woe was me, poor me, victim mentality, and trying to figure out and analyze everything that's happening to him. And instead, he was able to just let go because intellectualizing or analyzing is good for certain tasks, but it doesn't really work when you're trying. It's your main approach towards life. It's like a coping mechanism. When everything falls apart, it's really hard to maintain things with that coping mechanism. You really need to just connect with your innate well-being. So once he let go, his life became more creative. He was able to sleep better, and his quality of work improved. So that's improved, enhanced performance, and he was more productive. And the answer just comes. So I realized if you let go of the analyzing, the answer will come because your intuition. We have the mind, intellect. We have also our intuition. So it's a combination of having a harmony between everything. And he still has days where he's depressed or overwhelmed, but instead of lasting 2 weeks now, they last for an hour. He's also developed the self awareness to recognize the symptoms of low mood in himself and others. So he's able to do something about, like, kind of let go rather than trying to control the outcomes. There was a lot of his life he spent was trying to control life. And that doesn't really work because we can't really control life. And just realizing once you get into that thinking habit, then it's just kind of let go of that. You stop it right away. And also question his own thinking. So question, oh, this is a bad place, or this person doesn't like me. Is that true, or is that your interpretation of the reality? How much of that is true? And is it really true? Is it 100% true? And then he was able to turn his life around, to turn his business around. He lost 60 pounds through an exercise program. And his biggest realization, he said, my biggest realization is that life doesn't fit into a box anymore. And once he realized that, then there were endless possibilities. Because as an analyst, that's what he did. He just pigeonholed, put things into boxes and categories until he was unable to do that anymore. But once he let go of that, then he could see endless possibilities. He's able to listen to people. He wakes up every morning to watch the sunrise. And his life is so much more fun and joyful because it's really important to enjoy life. Life is for living. And when you're enjoying life, we're in a better state and we're able to show up for our family, for our business partners, for our spouses, for our children, for our community. So worrying is a habit, and it's a way of dealing with uncertainty or navigating uncertainty. And it comes from the belief that, oh, maybe I won't be able to handle these changes, or that life is unfair. But once you realize you can trust in wisdom and realize that you're being guided by wisdom, then you're able to let go of that controlling habit. Because, I mean, who can control life anyway? You can't control life. And then you can't categorize everything because life is just so more colorful and richer than we think and we realize. So he was able to experience life from a profound, deeper level, a better way of dealing with the unknown in life. And so there were boundless possibilities. So analytical thinking, he still uses the analytical thinking for certain tasks which serve him, but also he's relying more on his intuition. So it's a combination of mind and of head and heart. So it's mind, body, and spirit, just being connected and realizing that it's more to us than just analyzing things. And then the future is unknown, will always be unknown. It's an uncertainty and it's an incomplete equation. There's no point in just creating this painting of a scary monster and then that we created, and then it's like you paint this picture of the future. It's scary. You walk out of the room, you come into the room, you see that scary monster, you start screaming. And that's what we do a lot of the time. We play games with ourselves. We create this scary monster and we fear that we're not going to be able to deal with any challenges. And then we get stuck into it. And then our life just becomes a downhill spiral, really. And just to be able to let go of that worrying and trust in wisdom, that it will guide you into the future and that you're able to deal with whatever life throws at you, because there's just more. There's more to life than analyzing, controlling. And it's not just being able to let go, knowing that there is a greater power out there that's taking care of all of us and that we are being guided and taken care of, and that we can handle whatever challenges life throws at us. It's just a matter of understanding that emotional and mental and spiritual being is our default setting, that we're not broken, nothing to be fixed. I would love to hear your feedback and takeaways. Again, my name is Dr. Aya Akari, and you can download my free goal setting workbook and guidebook on my website, www.drayacarey.com. You can also get your copy of my book, Lead from Your Soul, The 4 Worldviews of Inspiring Leaders. Again, on my website under the Resources tab. You can also book a call with me if you go to my website, to the Contact Us page, and it would have a red button that says Book Now. That way I can help you find out more about how I can help you, and also can get you clarity on how you're being, because the first step to leadership is self-awareness. If you don't know yourself, you cannot lead. So it's very important to get clarity on your why you do what you do, and also how you're showing up as a leader. And my goal is to disseminate a model of leadership that based on awareness. So it's not just about the leadership skills and competencies, but more about the being as a leader. So not just about the doing, but actually about the being. And if you're YouTube, please like and subscribe. And I will look at your comments and questions, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your day.